Hi guys, so this is our last session of African music, and in this session I want to look at some musical genres that have come out of Africa over the last 50 years, but really only primarily West Africa and South Africa. And the reason why I wanted to look at those is because we've done a lot of work since we started on pop music, of discovering different musical genres from different cultures, and I think that we're in a position whereby we might start to make some really interesting and clever links to artists and to genres that have influenced each other. So obviously the beauty of music is that it really has no political or cultural boundaries. Musicians are free to listen to what they like and experiment with what they want and come up with new and interesting ideas. So we saw from like blues and jazz and folk and even calypso and samba that every musical genre is impacted in some way by early West African rhythmic music. But it works the other way around as well. So we have a really international economy, which is and meant that musicians in West Africa have been able to take inspiration from all sorts of musical genres in the European cultures and allowed them to create really new and interesting work. Now I'm hoping that we can start to sort of backwards engineer some of these genres and work out what has influenced them. Some of them you will have heard of probably, and some of you might not have at all, and so I can broaden your horizons in some way. So we're going to start with probably the most famous one, and that's Afrobeats. Now Afrobeats really started in the 1970s when African musicians started to hear funk artists and soul artists in America, and they started to come up with new and interesting work based on that. Now it's changed a lot since then, and when we look at like the 90s and the early 2000s, Afrobeats has taken a lot of influences from sort of more modern American and British genres like hip-hop, grime, electro, etc. So this is the best-selling Afrobeats track probably of all time. It's D'banj and it's called Oliver Twist. Let's have a listen. You can tell almost immediately the synthesizer at the beginning, it's like a Western instrument, but it's got a deeply West African ostinato rhythm to it. Da 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 da. That's it's very West African. It's not American. It's not British. It's not European. But the heavy sort of kick drum that's on every beat is very much like Western electro house type drum beat, and the vocals have got a vocoder on them, which is typical of hip hop. So it's really interesting how those two things have sort of been sort of smashed together to create this new and interesting sound. I'm going to show you some more genres. So Highlife, really prominent, that's out of Nigeria. Highlife. Shangaan Electro, which is a typical South African, well, it's actually a new South African electro movement. Kwaito, which again is South African. Desert Blues, which has come out of Mali and various other sort of West African nations. And then palm wine music, which is more of a Caribbean influenced alternative to calypso. So each of them I want you to try and go through on the assignment section and try and pick out what styles have influenced them. So we're going to try one together. This one is, we're going to look at some Highlife. And the track that we're going to look at is a guy called Rex Lawson, or Cardinal Rex Jim Lawson, and his band, and the track's called Berry Bote. High life is a Nigerian style. And let's try and pick out some of the stylistic features without me saying any more. So the first thing that I hear immediately is lots of guitar and lots of very laid back percussion sounds. Then we've got this trumpet solo that comes over the top. And I think that we can probably remember that from the previous lessons that we've had, when we add together sort of a Spanish style guitar part that's really intricate, lots of syncopated percussive sounds and some brass work, we start to feel like calypso straight away. It's very laid back. It was called High Life because it was meant to make people feel good, which is exactly what calypso was supposed to do as well. So it's really interesting how these genres are starting to be brought about by other musical genres, and we can hear them in each other. So that's the first two that we've done together, and then there's 4 more that I want you to have a look at. Pick out musical styles and tell me why those musical styles are the way they are. I look forward to reading them. Thanks, guys. Bye.